We're going to be ranking every single gun that's currently inside Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer. We're going to be using our opinions of our own from in-game experience, some stats testing we've done which you could check out in our previous videos, and also the general consensus from some other content creators as well. So starting off this list, we've got the Basilisk pistol. Now this can be turned into snake shot pistols, which are absolutely broken in Modern Warfare 2, which is kind of a bit reminiscent of the snake shot pistols from Modern Warfare 2019, and they're probably a bit better than those pistols in my opinion, so I do think they're absolutely a meta choice for a secondary. Now when it comes to the BIZON 890, I think it's a decent weapon, but in my opinion it could also be trash as well. It's not the best shotgun in this game, and is not the one I would personally recommend. The BIZON 800, in my opinion, is top tier. It does have a very good range, and it also has a good one-shot kill potential. So overall, I do think it's a solid shotgun if you do want to use one. We tend not to cover shotguns on this channel because I'm not a huge fan of them. But if you do want to pick one, it's definitely a solid choice. Deagle pistols, in my opinion, are decent for the most part. I know a lot of people are running these right now, but I don't think they're absolutely meta or they're like some of the best guns in the game. They do kill relatively quick, but you need to be pretty much point blank range to land your shots. So overall, I don't think they're the best pistols in the game. The EBR, in my opinion, is an absolutely meta weapon. If you've watched our Marksman rifle video, this gun has absolutely insanely good range. It pretty much doesn't drop off if you're landing chest shots. And on top of that, it's got super low recoil, so it's an absolute beast in multiplayer. Now, obviously, we'll wait and see how it feels inside Warzone 2 and DMZ, but for multiplayer, is an absolute solid choice. Expedite 12 is definitely the best shotgun in the game. It's the most spammable, the most easiest to use. The range is probably not quite as good as the BIZON, but overall, still a solid choice. The FENNEC, in my opinion, is top tier. Now, it does have the fastest TTK when it comes to any up-close SMG in the game. However, it does drop off pretty quickly, so that's the only reason I wouldn't put it in meta. And on top of that, you run out of ammo very quickly with this gun. The FTAC RECON, in my opinion, is an absolute meta choice. I was using this today, and it just feels so good in game. It doesn't even have a lot of recoil either, so I do think it's a solid weapon for a battle rifle. Next up, we have the HCR-56, and this is a decent LMG, very usable, but it's not quite as good as some of the other LMGs in the game, in my opinion. Then we've got the Hurricane, and I do want to put it in top tier, to be perfectly honest, but I don't think it's a top tier SMG right now. I do think it's decent, definitely still usable multiplayer. If you do enjoy using the weapon, then by all means, but I don't think it's even in top tier right now, in my opinion. The ICARUS LMG is absolutely a meta weapon. A lot of the LMGs, in my opinion, are actually meta weapons, and that's just because they're absolutely solid when it comes to control. They don't have a lot of side-to-side bounce. They've got really solid bullet velocity. The only thing that kind of lets them down a little bit is the movement, but overall movement in this game is very slow-paced anyway, so I mean, LMGs are probably perfect for this game. Then, in my opinion, I do think the Joker is a really solid choice, especially on that map with all the vehicles that can explode. So the Joker is a really good one when it comes to launchers. The KASTOV-545 is a decent weapon, but is nowhere near as good as some of the other rifles in this game. The KASTOV-74U is absolutely a meta choice because it's basically the best sniper support weapon in this game, in my opinion, and I think it'll be the best sniper support for Warzone as well. So KASTOV-74U performs very well at pretty much every single range. Then we've got the KASTOV-762. This is also a meta weapon, in my opinion. Very popular gun. Everyone loves this weapon right now. Next up, we have the Lab sniper rifle, and I do think this gun is decent. Most snipers are usable in multiplayer anyway, just because of the way TTK works, but I don't think it's overall the best sniper in the game. Then we've got the LACHMANN-556, which is the assault rifle variant of the weapon, and I do think this is an absolute meta choice. It's got super low recoil. When I was using it to level it up, it's absolutely a laser. Next up, we have the LACHMANN-556 which is essentially the battle rifle version of the gun, and I do think this is pretty decent. It's not an amazing weapon, to be perfectly honest with you, but just the way the TTK works, like I said before, you can still get away with using this gun. The LACHMANN sub is by far and away probably the best SMG in the game, in my opinion. It's probably between this and one other SMG, but in terms of close range potential, this gun is the best. Now the Fennec does beat it at super close range, but once you get past that first 5 to 8 meters, then the LACHMANN sub takes over, and then it becomes the best SMG in the game. So basically, the LACHMANN sub is the most OP. The LMS, in my opinion, is kind of trash. I don't really think it's a great weapon to use in this game, and the same goes for the Lockwood 300. Is also not a very good gun. We all know the M16 is not a great weapon. At super close range, it does kill relatively quick if you do land a 1 burst kill, but that is the only exception where this gun actually performs well. The M4 is definitely still a meta weapon. It performs well at pretty much every single range, and you do get super good control with this gun as well, and it's basically the best starting gun to use, and that is why you do essentially start with this gun. The MCPR, I do think, is a top tier sniper rifle choice. The only issue with this gun is that the ADS time lets it down a little bit, but in terms of long range potential, it is obviously one of the better sniper rifles to use. The MINIBAK, in my opinion, could be trash. The TTKs are not great, to be perfectly honest, and is not an SMG I would recommend for this game. It's just super low recoil, so it is still usable. Then we've got the Lockwood MK2, and I do think this is a meta weapon inside multiplayer at the moment. Super fast aim down sight time. If you do like landing headshots and you can land your headshots, then this is an absolutely insanely good gun in my opinion. I don't really know why a lot of people are not using this gun. Then when it comes to the MX9, I do think this is a top tier SMG. I do think it's overall pretty solid. It's pretty low recoil as well, which is always ideal. The P890 I do think is a top tier weapon as well as a 2-tap pistol at close range, which is absolutely ideal, especially if you're not running an overkill class, especially for multiplayer. It fires really quickly as well, so overall solid choice. PDSW, in my opinion, is an absolute meta SMG. It's super low recoil when it comes to close to medium range, and it's just an absolute laser within that distance if you build it correctly. Then we've got the Pila, which is obviously going to be top tier, especially for killing those streaks in the sky. Then we've got the RAAL LMG, which is potentially the highest damage weapon when it comes to how fast it can fire in this game. And I do think it is pretty slow when it comes to LMGs, but it absolutely packs a punch. It's probably the hardest hitting gun. Then we've got the RAPP, which I do think right now is just top tier. I don't think it's meta by any means, but it's definitely a solid LMG to use in this game. Then we've got the RPG, and the RPG is decent for destroying vehicles, but we'll need to see how this performs in kind of like Warzone or DMZ. I think this is where the RPG might shine a bit more. Then we've got the RPK, and in my opinion, again, the RPK could either be top tier or meta. I actually really like the feel of the RPK, so I'm going to put it in meta because the recoil wise is pretty solid and it hits relatively hard. Now, then we've got the SAKIN LMG, which is a gun that I just don't think is great in this game, to be perfectly honest with you. Then we've got the SAB, which is a very aggressive sniper rifle that you can use in this game for sure if you build it correctly. So I'm going to put it in top tier. It's not the best sniper in the game, but it's definitely a solid choice. The Signal 50 is absolutely a meta weapon in my opinion. This gun has got to be one of the most fun snipers when it comes to semi-automatics that we've had in COD in a long time. And it fires super quick for how much damage it outputs as well, so Signal 50 is absolutely meta for sure. SO14 I do think is top tier as well. For a semi-automatic rifle, is actually pretty accurate. So if you do want something that doesn't really have too much of a high damage output, but you do want something that you can spam really quickly, then the SO14 is a solid choice as well. The SPR, as we all know, is absolutely a meta choice as well. It's pretty much broken at this moment in time. So everyone's using it without any optics, and it is a solid choice. The SPX, in my opinion, is top tier. Again, you could pretty much get away with most snipers in multiplayer. Then you've got the STB, and I do think the STB is top tier. I think it's kind of a bit underrated right now, but overall, it does have pretty low recoil, and it does kill relatively quickly. A lot of people are actually kind of catching on to this weapon now, and it could potentially feel meta, but to me it still doesn't feel quite as good as some of the other ARs in the game. The Strela, again, in my opinion, is decent. It's not the best launcher in the game, but again, very similar to the RPG. It does have its uses in those niche scenarios. The TAQ-V, in my opinion, feels absolutely broken right now. I don't know if it's just me personally. If you have the correct build for the TAQ-V, it just feels so good in game, and it feels pretty much just as good as the TAQ-56, which I also think is a meta weapon right now. So both of the TAQ, whether you're using the battle rifle variant or the assault rifle variant, both are absolutely solid in this game. Just make sure you try and build it more towards ADS time. The TAQ-M unfortunately does not have the same characteristics, and I think it is kind of a trash weapon in my opinion. It's definitely not great. The Vaznev SMG, in my opinion, is meta as well. If you look at the TTKs overall, this weapon is very solid and it can act as a very good sniper support along with the KASTOV-762. Both of these guns will probably make the best sniper supports for Warzone 2, so I do think it's a solid choice, but for now inside multiplayer it's still a great SMG for that mid-range. And then the VEL-46, in my opinion as well, is definitely up there too. I do think that's also a meta weapon. There's quite a lot of meta weapons in this game, but that's because a lot of weapons are viable in multiplayer compared to Warzone with higher TTKs. The X12 pistol is okay, I mean it's decent, you can use it quite well. The X13 pistol in my opinion is the best, and that is because it's fully automatic. You could basically make it a pocket SMG if you have the correct attachments on there, and that way you don't really need to run overkill. So there we have it, those are all the weapons ranked in this game. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.